No sympathy for this man. The devil.
The question first is that whether I committed murder.
Did you?
Hello guys, namaste, welcome back to my channel. This is Amisha Singh Chauhan, and if you're looking for something fun, dark and mysterious, then you're at the right place. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so that every time I'm here, you'll get to know about it. So, today's video is on Charles Sobhraj. He is described as one of the most handsome person out there, very charming, he has hypnotic eyes, very likable. At the same time, people who call him likable also say that he's terrifying and very dangerous. A super intelligent personality, very cunning, I'm using very again and again. Like, this is the intensity of this person. He is given various titles like the most notorious serial killer in the world, though that is a title which is debatable because I feel like there's nothing as like someone could top something when it comes to crime. Anyways, he definitely makes the cut, and he is also said to be the most wanted serial killer in the world. Yes, that definitely he is. He is popularly known as the Bikini Killer, the Serpent. It is also the name of the Netflix series which was released in January of this year, which is based on Charles Sobhraj. He is also known as the Splitting Killer. I get it, like the most notorious serial killer, the most wanted serial killer in the world. Who is this person? I mean, we rarely talk about him. We talk about various of the serial killers in this world, and I've rarely heard anyone mention Charles Sobhraj's name. So who is this person and what did he do to earn all of these titles? Let's dig upon him. So, Charles Sobhraj was born in 1944. He was born in Vietnam. His mother was a Vietnamese shop girl and his father was an Indian Sindhi businessman settled over there. He was a tailor. Now, according to some reports, they were married and later on they divorced, while the other reports say that they never were married and they were in a live-in relationship when Charles Sobhraj was born. Now, because of which he was stateless. And if you don't know what stateless is, it means that an individual who does not have any nationality. So he was neither an Indian or a Vietnamese. But eventually, the mother, after separation from his biological father, actually it was his biological father who left them, she got married. She had this relationship with this French army lieutenant who was then posted at French Indochina. So the mother marries this Frenchman, and the French stepfather, he adopts Charles Sobhraj. So he gets the French citizenship, and that is why he is said to be the French serial killer. Not the French serial killer, but French serial killer. Now, after that, a lot of times, most of his childhood he spent in France, and he would travel from France to Vietnam. Eventually, his family settled in France, and the mother, along with the stepfather, had 4 other kids. Now, while he was in France in a boarding school, when at the age of 6 or 7, he would often try to run away from France and go to Vietnam. I mean, I can understand that part. He could barely speak English, and French was a totally different language, and he did not have friends. He could not communicate. So he tried running away from the boarding school but was never successful. And when he was in Vietnam, he would try to run away from the house in search of his biological father. Also, he mentions that he could never really relate or have that kind of a relationship with the family because he felt like an outsider. The only blood link he had was with his mother, and that was a weird relationship he shared with her. So eventually, like I said, they shift to France, and over there, he starts indulging in petty crime like burglary and theft. Now, in 1963, it is said that he was arrested for the first time for a burglary and he was put in the jail. Now, over there in jail, he meets a prison volunteer. You know, we have these volunteers who work for the betterment of prisoners. So his name was Felix Descon. I hope I'm not butchering the name. My French professor is gonna kill me. So anyways, Felix was a young businessman. He had connections, like he was part of the Paris High Society. Also, during this time, he started indulging in a lot of psychological books like by Carl Jung, and also philosophical books. He would read books on constitution and laws of various countries. He was a reader. He was an intelligent, very smart boy. So after he completes his sentence in the prison, he gets out of it and he moves in with Felix, the prison volunteer. Now, because of Felix, he gets to acquainted with two different worlds he never had a chance with. The first was the high society of Paris and the second was the underworld, crime underworld of France. Now, with this acquaintance and friendship he started having with these high society people and criminals, he started doing scams and burglary and theft and peddling drugs, those type of crimes basically. Now, during this time, it is said that he met a Parisian woman who came from a well-to-do conservative family. Her name is Chantal Companon. Chantal was deeply and immensely in love with Charles. Charles even proposed to her for marriage, and the very same day he got arrested because he was evading the police in a stolen vehicle, and he was sentenced for 8 months in jail. Now, during this time, Chantal was very supportive, and when he got out of the jail, they even ended up marrying each other. Now, when he got out of the jail, so as to escape the various warrants he had, he borrowed a car from the prison volunteer Felix, and along with his wife Chantal, he traveled from all the way from France in Europe to Asia in India, in Bombay to be exact. This was in 1970, and during this road trip they would often rob tourists and use their passports and various other stuffs. Now, these passports were used to cross the continent as well as various country borders. Now, when he arrived in Bombay, he did the same thing that he was doing, car theft, smuggling of illegal weapons across the border and various other crimes. He also has a baby girl with Chantal and her name is Usha. Now, Charles with his wife and his little daughter Usha, they go to New Delhi, and in 1973 he gets arrested at the airport while he was traveling to Bombay after stealing jewelries from a very prestigious hotel's jewelry store. It was Hotel Ashoka. Now, at the customs, the officers over there, they immediately suspected Charles. When they opened his luggage, they found all of these things. Now, he was arrested, he was put in the jail, he was trialed. During this time, he acted to be sick, which he often did. Now, when they took him to a hospital to cure him, he escaped by drugging the constable who was responsible for security. But then fortunately, he got arrested again. He was caught in New Delhi and he was brought back in the jail. Now, he asked his stepfather, the French stepfather, for money so that he could get bail, and he does get bail. He takes advantage of this bail, and along with his daughter and his wife Chantal, he travels from New Delhi to Kabul in Afghanistan. Over there, both these people, Chantal and Charles, they started robbing hippies and these Western tourists, especially at the hippie trade. Now, what they would do is they would drug these people. They would take advantage of their nationality and the languages they know. I mean, they were French, they were fluent in English, in French, and various other European languages. Charles even knew how to speak Hindi and Urdu, and he had a charming personality, so anybody would get attracted to them and would not feel anything foulish in their personality. Now, they get arrested in Kabul. Over here, some say that Usha was immediately shifted to France by the Afghanistan government to her maternal grandparents, while some say that she was in custody of the Afghanistan government. Now, what happened over here is that he does the exact same thing. He pretends that he is sick, and on his way, he escapes the jail, leaving his wife behind in the jail. Now, in the next 2 years, he travels most of Europe and some part of Asia. Now, while he was in Istanbul, he calls his younger half-sibling Andre, and they partner up doing the crimes that Charles was already doing. Now, what happens next is that in Athens, Greece, they both get arrested, and here they plot this plan. So what they planned was Charles actually convinced Andre that him to pretend to be Charles, while he'll take this opportunity and get out of the claws of the police. And then when the police would realize that, oh my god, we got Andre, not Charles, then they would leave the innocent Andre. But that did not happen. At least halfway it did. I mean, Charles was successful in escaping, but Andre got stuck with the police, and police over there handed him to the Turkish government, where he had to serve 18 years in the jail. Now, after that, it is said that he tried to go back to Kabul to get his wife out of the prison, but it was unsuccessful. Also, Chantal, when she got out of the jail, she got the custody of her daughter Usha, and then she traveled to US. Now, after that, it said that he traveled a lot of places in Asia, and after that, eventually he ends up in Thailand. Now, over there, he takes this get-up of disguise guise of a gem salesman and a drug peddler and a businessman. Now, he was very smart. He was very cunning. So how he would trap these victims was that he would befriend them, again taking advantage of his nationality and his languages. Most of his targets were Western tourists, were hippies in the hippie trade. Now, over there, he started making his own clan. Now, this clan included a lot of people. Most of them, again, were Westerners, some were locals, and they had no idea the kind of intensity of the crime they were committing. Like, he would give them, to do odd jobs. So they were knowing that they were doing something sheepish, but not the intensely. Like, they did not know about the whole picture. Now, in his clan, there were two important figures. His most devoted follower is said to be Marie Andre Leclerc, who was Canadian ex-nurse. And the second in command was an Indian crew whose name is Ajay Chaudhary. So whatever crimes he committed, these two people were definitely there. Now, what he would do is, like, for example, there were two ex-French policemen who were in Thailand then, and they had supposedly lost their passports, which was actually stolen by Charles himself. And Charles pretended that he was, the savior over there, a local of the city. So he started helping these policemen, and eventually he was successful in giving back the passport that he had stolen from them. So he got their friendship, he got the trust, and in return, he got them unconscious and stole money from them. It was a similar pattern. Now, his first victim is said to be Teresa Knowlton. She was from Seattle, and it is said that she had actually met him in Hong Kong or Singapore, if I'm not wrong, and she was planning on going to Nepal to a meditation center. But when she met Charles in Hong Kong or Singapore, Charles invited her to Thailand to, do things. You're getting it right. So eventually her body was found drowned in the Gulf of Thailand. So when her body was found, the police over there did not suspect of anything foulish. They thought that either it could be an accident or a suicide, and she was wearing a bikini, by the way, a floral bikini. Now, after that, his next victim was a Jewish man. His name was Vitali Hakim. What he did was he actually gave him a small dosage of a drug, and it made him feel sick. He took him to a hospital. He got him back in his own home. He nurtured him, gave him a shelter, and then he gained his trust. And later on, Vitali Hakim's body was found on a road near Pattaya Resort, which is a very famous place in Thailand. Now, the police obviously did not connect these two murders. But what happens next is, the next victims was a couple, a Dutch student and his fiance. So they met actually in Hong Kong, and in similar cases like it happened in past, he invited them to Thailand. Now, over here, thanks to Charles' drug dosage, they got sick, and during this time, while they were living in his house, Vitali Hakim's girlfriend, she came to Thailand so as to investigate his missing, and they got really scared, as in Charles, his other accomplices. So in that fear, they strangulated these two pairs, and they also burned them alive. Their body was found on 16th of December 1975. Eventually, Vitali Hakim's girlfriend's body was also found drowned in the sea, and yes, she was wearing a bikini similar to Teresa's. Now, this is the reason why he got the title of the Bikini Killer over there, because most of his victims were Western tourists and they were hippies, and their bodies, when they were found dead, were found in a bikini, which was a very similar swimsuit that all of them were wearing. Now, what happened over here is, after all of this chaos and mess that he created in Thailand, he took the passport of that Dutch couple and used it to travel to Nepal. Now, it is said that between 21st to 22nd of December of 1975, he murdered two other people. One was American, the other was Canadian. Now, after that, it is said that he traveled to India, to Calcutta or Benares, again the hippie trail, and from there, he goes to Singapore, then again to India, and then to Bangkok. Now, I don't understand why would you go back to Thailand where there are several warrants. Meanwhile, what happens in Thailand is that three of his clan members who were Frenchmen, they get suspicious of various things. Like, they found these documents and other stuffs that were related to murder victims. So they go to the police, they report Charles Sobhraj, and they leave the country and go back to France. Also, there was this Dutch diplomat who was working in the case of a Dutch couple who was murdered by Charles Sobhraj. Remember the Dutch student and the fiance? Yes, that's the exact case which the Dutch diplomat and his wife were investigating. So they build up this case with the help of Charles Sobhraj's neighbor. They go to the authorities over there, they get the permission to enter his house, and when they did enter Charles Sobhraj's house, they found the entire mountain of evidences, from passports to visas, documents, belongings like precious jewelry and stuffs. All of that could link to the murdered victim. So they were sure that it was Charles Charles Sobhraj. But where was Charles Sobhraj? So in July of 1976, at that time, Charles Sobhraj was actually in Bombay. And before he came to Bombay, he was in Malaysia with Ajay Chaudhary and Marie. Now, that is the last time anybody saw Ajay. He was actually smuggling gems for Charles Sobhraj. After that, nobody ever saw him, and some say that Charles killed him. So anyways, back in Bombay in 1976, he befriended two other Western women. One was Barbara Smith and the other one was Mary Ellen Ether. Now, these three women and Charles Sobhraj, they ended up murdering another Frenchman whose name is Solomon. After which, these four people, they traveled to New Delhi. Over there, they befriend and convince a group of postgraduate French students who were there in India to study about historical things and stuff. They befriended him and convinced them to be a tour guide. Now, they drug him. Now, one thing was that Charles, no matter how smart and brilliant and super intelligent he was, there was one subject which he failed tremendously. So he could never understand the amount of drug to give someone. So because of which, a lot of his victims actually died because of overdose. And the same thing happened over here. He could not get the quantity right, and because of which, before he could steal and rob them and leave from the scene, these students, they woke up, they got conscious, and they took over him and the other three people and then handed them to the New Delhi police. Eventually, very soon actually, the police got in the picture, they started trialing them, and they were prosecuted and they were charged for the murder of the Frenchman and as well as drugging these students. Now, during the investigation, Barbara and Mary, because of all scenario, they actually confessed about all their crimes, and all of these people, they were put in the prison and they were punished for 12 years. Now, there was no solid proof for the murder of Frenchmen, because of which they were never actually convicted. Now, Barbara and Mary, they tried to commit suicide, but they were unsuccessful in that, whereas Marie, who was with Charles since Thailand, she was actually given parole and she went back to Canada. Over there, she suffered with ovarian cancer and she died in 1984 when she was only 38 years of age. And till her last breath, she supported and did everything possible to help Charles. Now, what happened over here is that Charles was given 12 years of sentence because of drugging those students. And the law enforcement was very strict because they knew about his history. Before he came to this jail, he was in 10 different jails of various countries, and all the time he could escape out easily by pretending to be sick, or sometimes he even used a spoon to dig out walls and stuff. So they were very strict in the initial period, but then they realized that he was a very model prisoner. He was very good at everything. He would do his chores properly. Another thing to be mentioned over here is that he was having a lavish life inside the jail. Now, he was in Tihar jail, which is said to be India's most strict and dangerous jail, and yet he was enjoying his life inside. I mean, he had money and people can be bribed. Now, in March of 1986, it was 10 years in jail, and he decided that for his birthday this year, he is going to throw a lavish, luxurious, eventful party in the jail, which is not allowed, by the way. So eventually, like I said, he had a lot of money and somehow he could get gems inside his body, inside the jail. I don't know how he did that after all the physical tests. So anyways, he got his birthday cake. He got a lot of mithais and sweets. Both are the same thing, like jalebi, peda, rasmalai. I'm feeling so hungry right now. Anyways, back to the topic. He got all of these food and he drugged it. Now, before he did that, the previous night, he went to 4 of his friends. Earlier, he would never confide in people, but over here in this situation, he goes to his friends and he warned them that no matter what happens, do not eat anything from that birthday party. And they did exactly that. So did he himself. Instead, he actually fed every single person in Tihar jail by his own hands so as to make sure that everyone had the drug, sweet or cake. Now, eventually, they all got unconscious. Now, imagine a jail which is said to be the topmost jail in India. He was so smart that he was successful in getting everyone unconscious. After that, him along with his friends, they enjoyed their walk out of the jail. It is said that they even took pictures with unconscious police officers and constables. They were playing with their guns and everything. Now anyways, this is the time where the other 4 friends, they separate from Charles Sobhraj, and Charles Sobhraj goes to Goa where he's enjoying his life for some time. Yes, for some time. He goes to rave parties, he's in casinos, but a police officer, a Maharashtrian police officer, catches him and then he gets immediately arrested and his plan is successful. Charles' plan is successful. Now you'll be like, what are you saying? It doesn't make sense. If he got caught again, how was his plan successful? Well, I'm going to answer that, don't worry. So initially in 1976, When he was arrested in India by the Indian government, Thailand police got to know about Charles and they immediately requested Indian government to hand him over to them. But Indian government was like, no, this is against our laws. Right now he's in India, he's on our land, he'll be prosecuted according to our constitution. He will have to serve his punishment over here and after that, we'll give him back to you. Now there's a law in Thailand. Any warrant, any criminal warrant would expire if there is no action taken in 20 years. So after 20 years, any criminal warrant would get expired. And Charles Sobhraj was planning all of this, the birthday party, the jailbreak out, and him getting arrested purposefully was all his plan so that he could go back to Tihar jail again, being prosecuted for jailbreak and getting a sentence of 10 years again. And this way he spent 21 years in Tihar jail, and when he came out of the jail in 1997 when he was 52 years old, the criminal warrants he had in Thailand, they all got deleted. The case was shut. So obviously the Thailand police would not ask for him. Now he knew that if he wouldn't have done all of these things, then back in 1986, he would have been sent to Thailand immediately after completing his 12 years. And as soon as he steps in Thailand, he would be given death penalty and he will be executed immediately. So he made the choice to live in India in the Tihar jail rather than dying in Thailand, which was very smart. I should give him that credit. Anyways, he was released in 1997 on 17th of February. After that, he was a free man. Thailand did not want it. No other country wanted him. So the Indian government put him on a plane to France and he left India. Now, over there, he enjoyed his life as a celebrity. He had this huge fan following. Girls in India, women in India were crazy for him when he was in Tihar jail. Same happened in Paris. Everyone, I don't understand this thing. I mean, I won't judge people, but I just don't get it. People being crazy in love with serial killers. So it is said that as soon as he landed in France, when Chantel got to know about it, she left her American husband and her daughter Usha in America and came back to Paris so as to rekindle their relationship. So I don't know how true this is. I read it in an article and I thought of mentioning it. It is also said that he was having a relationship with his Indian lawyer while he was in the jail. I mean, sexual relationship. He said to have that relationship with a lot of women and people knew about it and still they fell in love with him. So anyways, he's enjoying his life over there. A lot of books were written on him. There were a lot of documentaries. People were talking about him. He even hired a public agent. He had this PR team with him and he would charge $1.5 million for each interview. I know it is crazy amount. It is also said that he sold movie rights to a Hollywood director, someone who is very famous. Again, his name is not mentioned, and he sold this right for 20 million US dollars. I know it is a crazy amount of money and he knew how to earn money. Anyways, in 2003, I don't know for what reason, he decides to come to Nepal in Kathmandu. Now over here, he is again enjoying his life. A journalist / a police officer, I don't know, either of these two, noticed him and there was a newspaper article on it. The journalist eventually contacted the police and the police arrested him while he was gambling from a casino. Now after that, he was prosecuted for double murder. Now remember in 1975 that between 21st to 22nd of December, he murdered an American and a Canadian in Nepal for that very case. Now with the help of the information that was accumulated by the Dutch diplomat and his wife and Interpol as well, he was prosecuted for this murder. Now it took a lot of time for him to get convicted. That is, it happened on 18th of September 2014 where he was convicted of murder. Now he was sentenced of life imprisonment. Now it is said that in 2007 he got engaged with his lawyer Thapa's daughter, who was only 20 years of age then, while he was 56 then, and she was actually a translator between her mother and Charles Sobra. She would often go to the prison and help her mother to fight his case. Now in 2008, a lot of you might have heard about her actually because she was a contestant in season 5 of Big Boss, which is similar to Big Brother. Also, the marriage of Nihita Biswas and Charles Sobhraj, the Nepali government was like, it did not happen. They just had a tilak ceremony, which is very normal. They denied it, but Nihita believes that she is married to Charles Sobhraj. The last thing that I want to mention over here is I was really curious as to why he came to Nepal. Now initially he gave out the story that he was making a documentary on Nepali handicrafts. His another story was that he was there so as to make a business on mineral water. Now I don't know, I mean it doesn't make sense. You know that you have committed a crime in this country, you have warrant against you, and still you'll go there. Later on he built up this another story. I don't know if it is built up up or not, but he said that he was actually working for CIA. I'm talking about the very CIA that you guys are thinking. Now, he said that he was there working undercover for CIA because there was this Talibani group who was smuggling these illegal weapons from Chinese or Paris triad. Now, he was helping them. But there's another theory that says that he was actually helping the Talibanis in smuggling this weapon. At the same time, he was working for CIA, where he had a deal with them that if he gets them information regarding Taliban, they would give him American citizenship and a new identity to not only him but also to his partner. Now, I don't know what happened. He blamed that CIA left him, did not support him when he was arrested in Nepal. In the end of the day, he is still in Kathmandu. He's still serving his life imprisonment. He's in mid-70s right now. Most of his life he spent in various jails of various other countries and continents. He also tried to take advantage of a Nepali law which said that if you're 72 and if you're still serving your time in the prison, then you can appeal for the court to get out of the jail, which he tried doing it, but he was unsuccessful. He even got sick with heart disease and was suggested an open heart surgery. He requested the government to send him to France to get operated, but then again the same thing happened. In the end of the day, like I said, he's still serving and he's very confident that he would get out of the jail any day because, again, bribery helps. This brings to the end of Charles Sobhraj's case. And if you guys have any other additional information, I would love to know about it. Do comment it down below. What are your opinions? Did you like this video? If you like this video, then please hit that like button. Also subscribe if you haven't. Share this to your friends. If you have suggestions, then you can comment down below, or you could directly message me on my Instagram. Also, you guys take care of yourself. Be happy. Enjoy your life. Bye-bye.